Good morning, Dr. Placencia, Dr. Donna, Dr. Pasa, faculty, and guest. I want to start with a situation everyone in this room has experienced. You pull into a fast food drive-through at 12:30 in the afternoon and you just want a quick lunch, but the line isn't moving. You wait for 5 minutes, then 6, then 7. Finally frustrated, you pull out of the line and drive to the competitor across the street. We have all been that customer. But for the last few months, I've been looking at that exact scenario from the other side of the window. The quick service restaurant industry, the QSR sector, is facing a paradox. On one side, the franchise owners are fighting for a survival on razor thin profit margins of 3 to 9%. On the other side, they are facing a historic labor crisis. 75% annual turnover rate, a new California labor laws like AB 1228, which raises the minimum wage to $20 an hour. In this pressure cooker, who carries the burden? Obviously, the store manager. Right now, dedicated managers are spending hours in the back office staring at Excel spreadsheets, trying to guess tomorrow's demand. When they guess wrong and understaffed, the drive-through lines and revenue is permanently lost. When they panic and overstaff, they bleed out the owner's profit margin. And why are we still using Excel in 2026? Because the commercial alternatives fail. When you try to use the exact mathematical solvers to build a schedule, the software crashes. The moment you tell a standard computer model, don't give my workers split shifts, make sure everyone gets a fair share of ours. Mathematical variables explode past 8,000. It's called the curse of dimensionality. The math breaks, so managers go back to guessing. My project solved this. I build a low cost, Python based decision support system that takes scheduling out of the dark ages. Now, for the guests and journalists in the room, I'm going to get a bit technical for the next 4 minutes to explain the engine, the heart behind the hood. Stick with me because I promise to show you exactly what that this maths looks like in the real world right after this. To build a functional model, I had to translate California labor law and human empathy into rigid mathematical constraints. I split this into two buckets. First, the hard constraints. These are statutory. Example, a employee cannot work more than 8 hours a day, cannot exceed 20 hours a week, and absolutely must take 30 minutes break before their fifth hour of work to avoid any meal penalty lawsuits. The soft constraints, these are human centric. No shift long shorter than 3 hours because a 1 hour shift isn't worth the gas money to commute, especially in these times. And a maximum of one gap per day to eliminate abusive split shifts. Let's look at the maths driving this engine. For the operation researchers in the room, you will see our objective function fx is designated as a strict penalty model. The algorithm's only goal is to minimize these violations, pushing the final score as close to zero as possible. Let me briefly walk you through the notations. You will notice the terms rely heavily on the threshold operator. That little plus sign outside the parenthesis, meaning max O to U. This ensures we only apply a mathematical penalty if a specific limit is breached. Let's look at the massive 10 to the power 6 weights attached to the delta terms. Delta represent the absolute variance. If the schedule misses the required customer demand, delta demand, or if any worker exceeds their strict 20-hour weekly cap, that is delta over 20 hours, the system is hit with a 1 million point penalty. This guarantees that the algorithm protects top line profit and hard labor caps above all else. Next, look at the summation for HD, which tracks the daily hours per worker. If a worker exceeds 8-hour daily limit, we don't just penalize it, we square the penalty. This exponential punishment ensures we absolutely never trigger California's severe overtime wage loss. Finally, we use the variable L to represent the continuous length of shift, and the L5 term tracks the California meal penalties, heavily penalizing any continuous block that hits 5 hours without a break. Conversely, uh, to protect our workers, 3 minus L term hits the schedule with a 500 point penalty for any shift shorter than 3 hours, effectively banning the micro shifts. Then we finish with a 2000 point penalty for every extra gap in a worker's day, actively minimizing the split shifts and commute emissions. By hard coding these specific variables, we literally force the algorithm to balance profit, people, and the planet. How does it achieve that score? Using a genetic algorithm, it digitizes the 20% schedule into a 1200 bit chromosomes of ones and zeros, where one is a hour on the clock and zero is the hour off. So that means on one, the person is working, on zero, the person is not working. So, but there is the core, but here is the core technical innovation of my thesis, the deterministic repair operator. Standard algorithms waste massive amounts of compute power equating illegal schedules. My repair app operator acts as a mathematical filter between the schedule is ever so if the algorithm randomly generates a 9-hour shift, the operator automatically slices the last hour to make it 8 hours. If it forgets a lunch break, the operator forces a zero into the fifth hour. It physically guarantees that the manager only sees 100% legally compliant options. So the math works in theory, but restaurants operations are chaos. How does the algorithm handle the real world? To prove its resilience, I ran the algorithm through three different extreme stress tests. On these next graphs, the dark blue line is the customer demand, and the light blue bars raising up are the workers the algorithm has scheduled. Scenario A is a massive, unpredictable rush. Typical lunch hour. Look at the 12-hour mark. The demand shoots up to 15 required workers. Notice the red bars. This is the algorithm hitting the mathematical feasibility wall. With a strict pool of just 20 part time workers, it is physically impossible to cover this spike without breaking the 8-hour daily labor law. Rather than breaking the law, algorithm strategically accepted understaffing. Truth be told, this is actually brilliant for a manager. It act as a strict risk manager, mathematically screaming to the franchise owner, scheduling optimization cannot save you today. You must hire more people for these kind of seasons. Scenario B is a stable, consistent day. This is the algorithm in its ideal state. Look at how perfectly the blue bar hugs the demand line. Almost zero wasted payroll and zero lost sales. It seamlessly deployed continuous legal blocks of work. But now, on scenario C is my perfect. This is a dead day. You can think of it like the last day of the semester, or last week of the semester actually. Demand crashes to just one and two workers. If this algorithm only cared about the corporate greed, it would have scheduled dozens of 1 hour micro shifts to match the line perfectly. But look at the orange bars. The algorithm intentionally overstaff because it refuses to violate our human centric constant, the 3 hour minimum shift. It took a slight hit to the daily profit margin to protect the workers' commuting ability and income. It proves that algorithm is defending its workforce. Which brings us to the business case. What is the value of this framework when evaluated through triple bottom line? Let's start with the profit. By eliminating a manual safety buffers, the algorithm achieves a 13.5% reduction in direct labor. That is a $20,000 in saved payroll per store annually. But as an engineering manager, I know true value isn't cutting costs, it's mitigating opportunity costs. So, by ensuring the drive through peaks are perfectly staffed, we rescue over $10,000 a year in top line revenue that would have been lost to people ditching the line frustrated. If it happens too often, you lost that customer for life actually. Furthermore, because the repair operator makes missing the mandatory lunch break mathematically impossible, we reduce the expected monetary value of the California PAGA lawsuits risk by almost $5,000 a year. When we wrap this into a 5 year discounted cash flow model, factoring in cloud maintenance OPEX, the net present value is once over $169,000 per store. As my sensitivity metric shows, even if California minimum wages inflate to 24 hour, trust me, it's going to happen very soon. And implementation cost triple, the NPV still remains positive. The financial case is very irrefutable. But the numbers on the balance sheet don't run a restaurant. People do. The social impact of this project is just as critical. In an industry plagued by 75% turnover, the algorithm eliminates the toxic managerial bias of favorite employees getting all the good shifts. It distributes our with mathematical equity. We didn't just build a tool to save franchise owner money. We build a framework that guarantees a single mother working the fryers gets a predictable, legal, consolidated schedule so that she can actually plan her life and childcare. And finally, the planet. By mathematically penalizing split shifts, we stop forcing minimum wage workers to drive back and forth to work twice a day. By consolidating these commutes, this single algorithm removes 10.5 metric tons 10.5 metric tons of scope 3 carbon emissions per store every single year. For decades, the fast food industry has operated on a broken promise, the belief that to run a profitable store, you have to burn your managers with administrative nightmares, and you have to treat your frontline workers like disposable numbers on a spreadsheet. The thesis proves that it is a false choice. We do not need to choose between protecting an owner's bottom line and protecting a single mother's right to predictable shifts. By taking scheduling out of the back office and putting it into the algorithmic framework, we give the franchise owner their profit margin. We give the store manager their time back to actually lead their team on the floor and give the hourly minimum wage worker their dignity back. Math and operations, math and operation research aren't just about cutting costs. When applied through the true lens of engineering management, they are the tools we use to build businesses that are financially bulletproof, environmentally responsible, and fundamentally human. Thank you for your time.